Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I've always heard this cliche, we're all getting older, but we really are, and our population is aging. Over 65 accounts for almost 17% of our population right now, and aging even more. And a challenge when you are the child of somebody who is older and you have to care for them, and now the roles have been reversed. They cared for you, now you're caring for them. It's a transition you have to make, and she helps you with those transitions. Wise Transitions is her company. Amy Spring is back with us with some important insight. We're going to talk about communication today. Amy, welcome. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you back. And we always heard communication is key, but more so when we're in this situation where we are dealing with and or representing our parent or parents in all different situations, right?
Yes, there's so many unique scenarios that we could talk about communication, whether that be with your aging loved one, whether that be with your siblings and family, or whether that be with the healthcare providers. But it's important to be proactive and somewhat thoughtful before you go in, because it can be very anxiety provoking. Sometimes emotions run high, and you want to make sure that you're walking away with clearer answers, although you still probably have more questions. But everybody's on the same team.
We always forget that. Let's take a look at all of the different scenarios when it comes to communication. The first one, it's the child, now adult, talking to their parent or communicating with their parent. How does that look? How should it look?
Yeah, so this can be a very difficult one for an adult caregiver to kind of step up to that specific role. We're brought up to respect our parents, and it doesn't mean because we're now the caregiver of our mom, our dad, our aging loved one, that we don't respect them. And we have to remember that. But just like our parents looked out for us and would step in sometimes and say, no, you can't drive after midnight, or I think you should be, doing XYZ. You also have to somewhat have that empowerment to say, I know I need to do this for mom or dad. And so you have to be able to ask some of those probing questions respectfully. I always advocate for people to be proactive rather than reactive. But let's face it, oftentimes we get into situations that we're not ready for.
Yeah. It's almost as if you have to rehearse it in your mind beforehand.
You do. And that's something that I do work on with folks or clients that work with me, are some role playing, right? And we can practice. And that's where like support of other caregivers or just with me in general. I've worked with, in my previous roles as physical therapist or in leaders in healthcare, or even as in this business, have worked with tons of people. And there's so many unique situations. It might just be that you are worried as the daughter of your mom living alone in this big 3,000 square foot house, and their bathroom's upstairs, and you worry about up and down the stairs. How do you have that conversation when mom's very independent, right? And doesn't want to be told that she, quote, can't do it, or that, you think she's older. So you have to kind of ask some of those probing questions and lead with the heart. And usually it goes okay. Sometimes you do have to take a step back.
How do you do that one? Let's go there right now.
Sure,
let's say your mom slipped once before, didn't fall, just, it was a close one.
Yep.
And now it's on your radar. Maybe she had hip surgery, whatever, a while back.
Right.
And now you need to remind her that she needs to be more careful. Or let's say you have wood stairs and now it's time to put runners on the stairs, so there's a little more traction.
Right.
How do you have that conversation?
So you can approach it in a couple different ways. One, you can say, hey, mom, I was thinking about you falling the other, a month ago or what have you. And I really wanted to make sure that you're safe. But I also was starting to put some stuff in my house to make sure that we're safe. and kind of laugh about it and say, hey, hope you don't mind I used you as an example, but I put all these runners on my stairs because I didn't want to fall, right? So I appreciate, the education. But then you say, I was thinking, I want to make sure that you don't end up back in that same situation. So I was kind of investigating, and I looked up or was going through this checklist of safety things that we need to look out for. And one of them, Mom, is I noticed that you had this plug that you always step over every time you get up from the couch and you go into the kitchen and you step over it. You know that is there, so you think it's safe. But you know what? One of these days, maybe you're tired, and as we age, again, sometimes our balance isn't there. So do you mind if they recommended I tape it down? So I think I'm just going to tape it down.
Okay.
Think about that.
Yeah. Or is it reasonable to put yourself into it? Like, I almost tripped over that thing the other day.
Exactly.
Okay.
And honestly, that's happened to me with my parents, where I actually did go down the stairs and they had a throw rug at the base of the stairs, and the rug just moved. And I said, oh, Mom, I got to say this, but that's a safety risk. And, of course, she did come back and say, well, we know that that's there, so we don't slip. And I said, but you see how I've been in this house for 40 years too. I come back and visit. Somehow it slipped my mind.
It's also a shame that when you get older, you still think you're invincible, but somebody who's younger could fall. I remember I fell down the steps and this was 14 years ago. And it was right after Christmas, and my daughter's taffeta dress was on the stairs. So I'm carrying her, walking down the stairs, hit it, and I'm like, bloop, and she actually flew out of my arms and landed on the floor. Fortunately, it was pergo floor, so it had a little bit of bounce to it, and she was okay. So was I. But anyway, it could happen to anybody. It could happen to anybody.
To anyone. Yep. Yeah, really.
How about that conversation or that communication with the healthcare provider?
Yeah, so this is a big one where often, the adult caregiver or even the aging loved one goes to the doctor, and I respectfully say this, that they think of them as God, right? They're the ones who have gone through the education. They're the expert. They know everything. But always remember, you're the expert in you, or you're the expert in your mom or your dad or your aging loved one. You know how they communicate. You know what happens at home. The doctor or the healthcare professional doesn't really know, even if they say that they eat 3 meals a day, that they really don't, or anything like that. So I often advocate for bringing a list. And I'll even advocate for bringing 2 lists that are the exact same and hand it to the doctor after you say, hello, how are you? Good. You do your pleasantries. And then you say, hey, I have a list because I'm forgetful. So I want to make sure we don't forget this before I walk out the door. Now you've put responsibility on both of you. It's not just you remembering the questions. It's also now whoever the clinician is you're speaking with.
You're going to forget. I did last night. I had a telehealth appointment with my daughter. Again, coincidence. She's 15, and we were supposed to ask something, and it was late, and there was an issue with the telehealth portal. So it was a phone call. Totally forgot to ask a key question. I was like,
yeah. You frequently do. Yeah.
What about on the healthcare end? Second opinion.
So that's a great question. That's a question that many people feel uncomfortable doing because they feel like they're saying to the doctor or the therapist or whoever it is they're speaking to that I don't agree with you, and I want somebody else to tell me the same thing. That's what you think you're saying. But you can say it nicely and say, hey, this is such a concern of mine that I was wondering what your thoughts are on having a second opinion. I totally believe you, but it would put my mind and my heart at rest if we got a second opinion. What are your thoughts on that? I don't honestly know of any healthcare provider that would tell you that you can't have a second opinion. That's your right.
I would run if they...
Exactly. If they say you don't need a second opinion, you're going to get the exact same answer. Well, then you say, great, now we're going to put my mind at rest and who would you recommend for a second opinion?
Hmm.
And then you just go for the second opinion. But I advocate for that with all my clients. I
Yeah.
always say it's never, ever a bad idea to get a second opinion. You get more than typically if you're going to have like a roof put on, or you're going to have a bathroom remodel, or you're going to go have a
Yeah.
rug put in your house. You go to more than one place typically, right? Or you
Yeah.
get more than one quote. So why wouldn't you do that with your health?
It makes, we forget about that. And it goes back to what we've done in our society. And there are many great doctors and healthcare providers, but we put
Mhm.
them on the pedestal. Like,
Yeah.
whatever you say, yes, whatever you say. No, you are your best healthcare advocate. And,
Yes.
you're talking with people, even if you have a great relationship with your doctor or provider, they're busy. They're seeing tons of people. People
Yeah.
do make mistakes. Sometimes they might forget,
Right.
and you got to
Right. They're
check.
human.
And they're human, right? Their intention is best, but
Yeah.
sometimes things happen. Things
That's right.
happen. So
Right.
I follow up, check and double check, and yeah, thanks for the reminder on the roof estimate, because you would, and guess what? You get other ideas. So
Exactly.
Jimmy
And
the roofer might have a different opinion than Johnny the roofer, and may say, "Hey, I might use these shingles in your application." Well, same thing when you go to a doctor and then another doctor, he might have a little spin. They're both maybe right, but maybe it's a different idea.
right. And you may find that you like both of them, but one more, just feel more connected
Sure.
to that particular doctor. And your healthcare professional is a relationship.
Yeah.
So you have to feel comfortable with that relationship and feel that you're heard and that you're part of the team. It's not this hierarchy where the doctor, the healthcare professional is the quote boss. You go to them because they're the expert. And so you're asking them for their opinion, but you're part of the team equally.
Probably one of the most important indicators is listening. If they're not listening to you,
Mhm.
because you know the story, the
Right.
story of yourself, health wise, your parents' story. Nobody's
Yep.
going to tell it better than you or them. And if that doctor is not listening and clearly listening, if they're half,
Right.
you're going to know, you're going to feel it.
Right. And so as the caregiver, so for me with my parents, both my parents have very different personalities. My dad wants you to give it to him straight. He doesn't need all this fluff. He doesn't need all these pleasantries. He doesn't care if somebody's like asking him, what he did this weekend. He wants it straight and dirty, right? Just give it to him. And my mom is more about the relationship. She wants to know that you care about her and that you're listening to her. And it's not that she doesn't want a good doctor, it's that she feels like that relationship is important, right?
Yep.
So that
Yep.
piece of that is important to her. And so I know that when I'm taking her or maybe recommending a different doctor.
Hmm. It's it's almost like your love language. Everybody has a different communication
Exactly.
style. Yeah.
Completely exactly like your love language, right?
So we've talked about communication here between your parent,
Yeah.
between doctors and health providers. How
Mhm.
about the communication between you and your siblings related to your parents?
Okay, so I think this is the hardest one. At
Mm,
least that's my opinion, because every family dynamic is different, right? We all have different, whether we're the firstborn or the baby or the middle child, everybody has a different opinion. Do you
yep.
live out of town? Do you live in town? Are you in, I say again this lovingly, are you male? Are you female? Some people are more, they're like, nope, I think my sister should do this, or nope, I think my brother should do this. Um, so it goes down to, I find the best way to communicate as a family is to be more factual. And what you had said earlier, listen. So I typically say, everybody, when I get them on a Zoom call, before we get on a Zoom call, I'd like everyone to submit to me what their top priorities are or concerns and what questions you may have. That way I kind of have an idea where they're going. One person might come to me with like questions about money, and another one's all concerned more about like who the doctor is, right? And do you trust
Hmm.
the doctor? So you can kind of get a gauge on that. Also, typically people will say, well, my brother, this, and this. So you already start understanding the dynamic. But if I'm not involved, I think the best way to lead those questions are, again, to get either send an email if you are uncomfortable with getting together with everyone, keep it factual, keep it not as, you did this or you should do that. I'm concerned about mom. I think she needs help around the house. I'm thinking she's not eating like she should. What is everyone's idea? You probably already know what those ideas are, but you want to solicit their opinion because then they feel respected.
That's a great idea. We forget about that. And I think we just get frustrated because sometimes it all falls on you.
Yeah.
And that's one major scenario I feel when it comes to caring for a parent is that, wait a minute, how did I get stuck with all of this? Why am you're at a baseball game and I'm sitting here doing this? Why,
That's right.
And then that creates even more animosity.
Yeah.
It's some families are great. I'll do this. I got that. But then you have others where it's, you got this one all the way over here, maybe because they're a little far away and then they don't engage in the same way, but they can do just as much even by phone.
Absolutely. And I've coached a lot of families where I've said in this exact situation where I know one feels they're the one pulling the weight, right?
Yeah.
And they need others to pull the weight. But often they say, I don't know how, I don't know what to do. You're better at it than I am.
Yes.
And I'll say, here's the list of to-dos. And these are my recommendations. Can you, Susie, be the one to go and get the groceries or take mom to the doctor, right? Or can you, Tom, be the one to call the car insurance or what have you?
It's so true. We all have different skills and it's assessing who's what. Maybe Michelle is very detail oriented and likes talking on the phone and, following up and following through with insurance companies. God, let's go. Run.
Exactly.
Mom's bed needs to be moved. If she's getting a new one. Yeah, I'll be there on Saturday. We'll take care of that. I don't see Michelle lugging that out there.
Exactly.
So it's finding everybody's strengths and identifying them. And then I guess that the mucky part is the delegation of it.
It is. The delegation is the hard part. I usually put together, I'll help people organize that and keep track. So I'll use like a Google Doc where you can share and I'll put together the task and you can see it in real time, who's responsible, who's not, when it should be done by, when, it's completed. That way we have clear communication.
So people blame it on you, and I mean that in a great way. But Amy made the list. Let's say all the children of the parent or parents know that we're working with you. So Amy made the list up of who's doing what. Do families do that?
Occasionally, yeah. Occasionally, they don't. It's funny because people don't. Once they start investing the time to do it, then they feel like they have to do it. And it's hard to step in, like we started at the beginning about actually stepping in as the caregiver. Yeah. You want to consider yourself still the daughter or the son of the parent who's completely independent. So at some point, everyone has to be on the same page that, hey, there's a lot of tasks to be done. And if we're going to divide and conquer, then we need to all step up and do some of it.
We're talking about communication. What about communicating? We mentioned insurance companies before. That type of communication. I know it's, we're in a different territory here, but you want to get things done. You want to move forward. Any tips there? Because that can be a logistical nightmare.
Yeah. So if I'm involved, then I really help I can see what's going on the Google Doc, and I can send an email or a prompt with a text or what have you and say, was this completed or wasn't it completed? I might even get on a Zoom call or something like that and say, hey, Susie, I know you needed to make a call to the doctor. Would you like me to get on with you so we can talk about what questions to ask? That way I can, again, go back to the role play. But there's often, if I'm not involved, I hear it frequently that maybe it's me who wants my sister to do something, who said she would do it and she's not doing it. how do you have that conversation without her feeling like you're being the boss or you're telling her what to do, right? So frequently there's two ways to go about that. You can either be really direct, which can sometimes work and sometimes not. Or the second can be kind of roundabout and say, I'm so overwhelmed. I had to do X, Y, Z for mom. And I'm wondering, are you overwhelmed too? How's it going with whatever task you were supposed to do?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. When somebody has challenges or apprehension dealing with insurance companies and things like that, are you available to be on the phone with them?
Yes, they would have to, when they get me on the phone, they just usually introduce that they've got Amy Spring on the phone. She's helping our family with XYZ. I've had a couple instances where they've made me somebody that can actually speak with them one-to-one without them the family also being on the phone. But frequently I encourage them to be on the phone, not for me to necessarily be the one. But yes, I'm happy to be on the call with them and to kind of be that mediator or just the one to kind of start planting some of the questions. Because once those questions start flowing, then the caregiver or the aging loved one starts feeling more, oh yes, I had the same question.
I've loved that feel. Yeah. It's almost as if you're opening the door to the dialogue, the conversation, making it easy. And you know what? Because you've been around the block, you know the drill. That sometimes makes it clear in somebody else's mind where other things pop in. It's like, oh, I never even thought of that. What about this? So now it all creates because it's sometimes pressure when you got to call that insurance company. My best advice is just smile. You're frustrated. You know, they're dealing with people over and over and over. The nicest you can be, you will get more.
You will. When you tell them that, you know what, we're really in this high pressure situation and we're really looking to you for guidance on this, what can you tell us if you're talking to like life insurance or health insurance or a financial advisor or whoever it is you're speaking to? You can say, we're really overwhelmed. Can you break that down for us? Or what tips can you give us? Or this might not be the only call we have. Do you have other time so that we don't feel pressured into getting it all answered in one call?
You know what I see here, Amy? The common thread for a lot of us is you want people to feel like they're vested in the situation, be it a sibling. You want everybody to have equal feeling and equal connection to what's going on. And then I think it even trickles down to the insurance company rep.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
If they feel that you need their help and you want them to be a part of a solution, they're going to give you more. They're going to give you more, even just attention, just to listen to what's going on.
Everybody wants to feel appreciated and valued. And again, I always say this is a team, right? There's no I in team. We all have a common goal, whether that be making sure that mom has the money she needs or dad gets the support he needs in the skilled nursing facility or we're heard at the doctor. We all want to be heard and valued and appreciated.
And that's another thing. Show your gratitude for everybody, no matter what it is.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I'm even thinking now, I just opened up an account in a new bank a little while ago and she was wonderful and I should have thanked her more. I'm not even kidding. And I usually do. I'm going to call her back and say thank you because you made it easy.
Right. And you know what, but in that, when you do that, she will be smiling from ear to ear. And then the next time she goes to like Dunkin' Donuts or wherever she goes, she's going to be like, I feel so good. Thank you so much for making my coffee. Or it's a trickle effect.
Yeah. It's like a gratitude pay it forward in some ways.
It really is.
So if somebody wants to work with you to help with that transition, what's the first step?
I always recommend just getting on a call with me. They can schedule a consultation. It's complimentary, and we'll discuss your unique situation. And if I think that I can help you, if I don't, and I just think I need to refer you off to someone like a financial advisor or an estate attorney, or you just need somebody like that, or if I can specifically help your situation. But let's get on a call.
At the very least, I would have you involved in my life when you're working with your parent, and let's say they have some pretty significant medical challenges. Just all the paperwork and all the logistics and the appointments. And if you have that sibling that can take care of it, God bless, that's fantastic. But it's not always the case. It's not always the case.
It's just being organized, understanding how to save you some time is things that I work on with families. Being able to review contracts so that you're paying for the appropriate things or putting the right, like if you're hiring an aide, right? Are you hiring somebody that's certified? Are you hiring somebody that's not certified? Are you putting a deposit down? How do you get your money back? You need to get your money back, So there's a lot of different things to discuss, and it's multifaceted.
Yeah. What's your website again?
It's www.wise-transitions.com.
Amy, it's always great talking with you. And I just love how you are not only on point, but so clear and easy to talk with.
Thank you.
We're talking here, in a podcast, but if I was talking with you about my mom and challenges there, I know it would be exactly the same. And it's like you're a friend. It's what it feels like.
It's definitely my passion. It's always been my passion. And I just love helping other people. And I love making sure everybody feels safe and respected and loved.
Yep. And peace of mind.
Peace of mind. Huge.
There's something there. When you got, medical issues going on in your family, a little bit of peace of mind is you can't put a price on that. You really can't. Amy, thank you again. Look forward next time we chat.
Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.